Hey guys, doing a trigger job on a 1911. So what I do is I polish up that surface and that surface and that surface. I just get the mirror smooth so that there's no friction when it slides in the gun. So that needs to be done. On the hammer, I polish up that surface. You can see there's a friction spot, so I'll polish that to mirror, and same that side, so I get all of that out. I don't touch the hooks. I do check if they're not, that's where the trigger, that's the half cock and that's the full cock, and when that's not, if those fingers are not bearing equally, I'll take some material off there just to get them, but I try not to play there because it can get complicated. And this is the disconnector, so I'll polish up that surface. That's where the trigger interface is, so I'll polish up that surface, and I polish up that surface. That's the portion that comes through the frame over there, and that's what disconnects the trigger when the gun's not in battery. So I do that, and then the sear, and this is not a very good sear. I don't know if we'll see it, but it's not equally thick, and it also looks like it's slightly slanted. But anyway, so what I'll do with that is I'll run that on a hone, and I'll get that surface square, and then I'll put a back bevel on it so that to lighten up the trigger, and I'll just buff up the sides of it so that there's no friction on whatever it's moving. You can see a little bit of friction on there, so I'll over there. Okay guys, to get the sear square, it goes into this jig, and it mounts in there with its own pin. And I've already done this one, so you can now see that surface is flat and even, and it's square. And what I use is, you got a little 20 thou gauge that you put in there, and then I start off with that stone, and then you run it. Then I use that side, and then finally I use the red one, and that's just to get it, to get it square to this. Okay, so once you got the sear out of the jig, the sear runs on the stone like that, again with a 20 thou spacer underneath, or feeler gauge underneath, and you just rub it there, and then I go to the finer stone, and then finally to that fine stone. And what you're trying to get is, so there's the surface, and you can see this sear is thinner on this side, and that's just the way it's cast. So this is not a good sear. And then on that final, you're putting a bevel on this edge on that, and that's what lightens up the trigger. So what's happening is this sits like that, and when you pull the trigger, that gives way, and this can swing past. You try and get that surface that you've created a third of that surface. So it looks like more than a third, yeah, because you're looking at face on, but if you're looking at from that angle, you want to remove a third of that face into the bevel. So I got it all polished up. Side of the sear is all shiny and smooth, both sides. The surface there where the disconnector interacts, that has been given, if I can get the camera to focus, that's been given a bevel. It's been squared up and then beveled up. The hammer, the bearing surface has been polished, both sides. Disconnector, this runs in the frame, this round portion, so I buffed the heck out of that. It swivels on that, buffed that up. Interacts on the trigger, buffed that up. The trigger is like a brushed aluminum, and it's not real slick. Anyway, buffed that up, both sides, where it comes into contact with the frame, as well as the top ends over there. So there, she's all done, back together. Trigger is crisp, reset short. Brakes probably at about 4 pounds. Before, it didn't even register on the trigger gauge. It was kind of like 7, maybe even 8 pounds. It was like really hard, and the guy didn't want it super light. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at 4. You guys, I hope you found that interesting. We talk again. Stay safe.